I'm Evelyn. I'm 104 years old. I want to tell you something most people don't like to say out loud. Not parents, not teachers, not the books meant to make life feel easier. They avoid it because it hurts to hear. Because once you really understand it, you can't go back to pretending. I've been alive for more than 100 years. I've buried 3 husbands. I've buried 2 of my own children. I've outlived nearly every friend I once laughed with. Everyone who knew me before I turned 40 is gone now. I've watched the world change again and again. New inventions, new worries, new ways of filling the day so you don't have to sit still with yourself. And through all those years, one truth kept following me quietly. We live as if time is generous, as if it understands our plans, as if it will wait while we get around to what matters. It doesn't. I didn't learn this when I was old. I didn't learn it when my body slowed down. I first touched it when I was 32, and it took the rest of my life to understand what that moment was really trying to tell me. It was late summer, August of 1953. I remember because it was a Tuesday, and the heat lingered even after sunset. I was married then to a man named Thomas. We had been together 7 years. We had 2 young children, always running through the house, always asking for something. Thomas worked long days. He was steady, reliable, the kind of man who didn't talk much but showed up every morning. Before he left for work, he leaned down, kissed my forehead, and said he'd see me later, the same way he always did. That Tuesday, he never came home. There was an accident at his job. The details were explained softly, carefully. They told me it was quick. They told me he didn't suffer. People always say that. What they don't say is that when someone dies without warning, they don't go alone. They take everything unfinished with them. Every kind word you saved for later. Every apology you thought could wait. Every moment you were there in body but not in heart. That night, I sat at our kitchen table long after the house went quiet. His chair stayed empty. I kept looking at it, as if it might tell me something I missed. I made a promise to myself right there. I promised I wouldn't waste time anymore. I promised I would stop putting off love. I promised I would stop assuming tomorrow would fix what I neglected today. And at that moment, I truly believed I meant it. And you know what? I broke that promise almost right away. Not loudly, not all at once. I told myself I was doing better. I hugged my children more. I said I love you a little more often. It felt like enough at the time, but life has a way of pulling you back into motion. I remarried. Work filled the days. The boys grew up faster than I expected. I kept telling myself I was fine, that I had learned what I needed to learn, even though something quiet inside me knew I hadn't really changed the way I thought I had. Here is what I didn't understand when I was 33, and what took me more than 70 years to truly see. It isn't enough to survive something painful and tell yourself you're different now. The lesson isn't that life is short. Everyone hears that. It's printed on cards and spoken at funerals. The real lesson is that forgetting comes easily. You slowly slide back into routine. You start moving through your days without noticing. You begin to believe once again that time is on your side, and that forgetting that gentle drift back into comfort and habit, that is where the real loss happens. I married again in the early 60s. His name was Edward. He was kind, quiet, the sort of man who didn't need much, but appreciated everything. We spent over 40 years together before his heart finally gave out. And when I look back now, what weighs on me isn't the arguments, or the money worries, or the hard seasons we had. What stays with me are the ordinary evenings I treated as unimportant, the nights I stayed busy instead of sitting beside him, the times he asked me to walk with him and I said, "Not right now," because I thought there would always be another chance. I treated those moments like they were guaranteed, like they were waiting for me whenever I was ready. What no one tells you about reaching this age is that loss doesn't end when someone dies. It keeps returning. It visits you in memory. Every time you think of the people you loved, you also remember another moment you weren't fully there, another conversation you half listened to, another goodbye you rushed because you thought you had somewhere else to be. My son Daniel died in 1991. He was still young, far younger than I ever imagined I would be when I said goodbye to him, and even now, that realization continues to unfold inside me. He was 46 when he died. Cancer. I was already in my late 60s by then. I remember sitting beside his hospital bed, holding his hand, feeling how thin it had become. At one point he looked at me and said, very quietly, "Mum, I am sorry I didn't call more." And something inside me broke open. I wanted to shout. I wanted to ask why we were apologizing now, when there had been years we could have reached for each other more often. Why we waited until the room smelled like medicine and goodbye. But I didn't say any of that. I just held his hand and told him it was okay. I told him we had time. That was the lie. We didn't. I said it because I couldn't bear the truth in that moment. My third husband, Henry, died not long ago. He was 97. We had been together a little over 20 years. And even after everything I had lived through, even after everything I had lost, I still caught myself doing the same things, letting my attention drift, half listening while he spoke, thinking I would be more present later. There were times I looked down at my phone while he was talking. Times I sighed when he repeated a story I'd already heard. Times I thought, I'll really listen tomorrow. Tomorrow didn't always arrive. It never announces when it's the last one. You might be listening to this now and thinking it all sounds heavy, thinking that death comes for everyone anyway, so what's the difference? But that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point isn't that people die. The point is that you're living as if you won't be the one who runs out of time, as if somehow your life will be the exception, as if you'll get around to living the way you mean to later. I'm 104 years old, and I can tell you plainly that later has a way of never showing up when you expect it. You think you'll travel when you're done working. You think you'll reconnect with your sister once this busy season passes. You think you'll finally write that thing you keep talking about, or have that conversation you've been avoiding when things calm down a bit. What you don't realize is that busy seasons have a habit of stretching into decades, and bodies don't wait patiently for plans to catch up. Here's the part that hurts the most to admit. You do have time right now, more than you think. You just don't treat it like something precious, You spend it on worries that won't matter. You give it to people who don't see you. You trade it away for distractions because they're easier than sitting still with what's real. And if you live long enough, you'll eventually look back and see that the time you needed was there all along. I'm not telling you to abandon your responsibilities or run away from your life. I'm telling you something much quieter than that. I'm telling you to notice what you're actually doing with the hours you're given today. If your grandmother is still alive, don't wait for the perfect moment. Call her. If your parents are still here, don't assume there will always be another visit. The smallest delays are often the ones that cost us the most. Because I am a grandmother, and I can tell you exactly what she's doing right now. She's sitting somewhere familiar, maybe with an old photo album in her lap, maybe just looking out a window as the day passes, and she's thinking about the people who used to call without being reminded, about the grandchildren who are always busy now. She tells herself it's fine, that everyone has their own lives, that she understands. She always says she understands. But the truth is, it hurts a little more each day. And if you're lucky enough to still have your parents, you should know this too. They won't be here forever. When they're gone, you won't remember who was right in that argument years ago. You won't care that they were difficult sometimes, or that they didn't always say things the right way. Those details fade faster than you expect. What stays with you are the calls you didn't make, the visits you kept postponing, the afternoons you could have sat with them quietly, but chose to stay busy instead. I know this because I am that parent now. I had 2 sons. One of them, Daniel, has been gone for many years. The other, Michael, is in his 70s now. Michael comes to see me every Sunday, no matter the weather, no matter how tired he is, every single Sunday. And still it never feels like enough. Not because he isn't loving. He is. It's because when you truly love someone, no amount of time ever feels complete. When he leaves, I watch him walk to his car a little longer than I used to, wondering quietly if that goodbye will be the last one we share. That isn't pessimism, it's arithmetic. And what you need to understand is that this truth doesn't wait for old age. Every goodbye carries that same uncertainty for you too. You just don't feel it yet. I have a great-granddaughter. Her name is Lily. She's 16. She came to visit me recently and spent most of the afternoon looking at her phone. I didn't correct her. I didn't sigh. What would be the point? She believes time is endless. She believes her messages are urgent. She believes this moment, sitting with someone as old as me, will always be available. It won't last. And one day, probably many years from now, she'll remember that afternoon. She'll remember sitting near me, the room quiet, the light coming in just right. And she'll remember that her attention was somewhere else. That memory will return to her when she's older, and it will carry a weight she can't feel yet. That's the feeling I wish I could spare you from. Not the regret of big mistakes. Those are loud and obvious, and people find ways to live with them. The regret that stays is quieter. It comes from absence, from being in the room but not really there, from treating the people you love as if they're permanent fixtures instead of fragile lives moving alongside yours. They aren't permanent. None of us are. I know this now in a very simple way. I'm not going to be here much longer. I can feel it. Not with fear, just with clarity. My body is tired. It's done a lot of work over a very long time, and it's ready to rest. I'm at peace with that. I've lived a long life. Longer than I ever expected. Longer than I probably deserved. What still troubles me is the idea that you might spend yours the way I spent so much of mine. Distracted, postponed, half present. Because here is the truth it took me more than 70 years to understand. The moments that matter most are not the ones people celebrate. They aren't your wedding day, or your graduation, or the promotion you worked so hard for. Those are meaningful, yes, but they aren't what stays with you when time runs short. What stays are the quiet afternoons, the ordinary moments, the times when nothing special was happening and you chose to stay anyway. When you listened instead of rushing. When you were patient instead of irritated. You'll remember the afternoon your father tried to show you something simple, and you didn't brush him off. You'll remember a morning when you made breakfast without checking the clock. You'll remember a walk where you actually listened, not thinking ahead to what you wanted to say next. Those moments don't look important while they're happening. They only become important later. But they don't happen by accident. You have to choose them again and again, because almost everything around you is designed to pull you away. Work, worry, ambition, noise, the endless list of things that seem urgent. If I could go back and speak to myself as a young woman, standing in that kitchen all those years ago, this is what I would tell her. The promise you're making right now, to do better, to be more present, you will break it. Not because you're careless, but because you're human. People forget. What matters is not perfection. What matters is noticing when you've drifted and coming back, again and again. Returning to attention, returning to care, returning to the people right in front of you. I'm 104 years old. I've been alive for more days than I ever imagined I'd see. And when I look back honestly, the days I was fully present are fewer than I like to admit. That is my regret. Not what I failed to achieve, not what I didn't earn, but how often I let my life pass while my mind was elsewhere. I'm telling you this now because time does not warn you when it's about to change. It doesn't slow down so you can catch up. And if there's one thing I know for certain, it's this. Later is far more fragile than you think, and one day, without any announcement at all, it simply stops arriving.